What is going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to backlap the Allett Stirling. So I've noticed over the last couple of days I've been getting a lot of frosted tips and shredded grass. That's just a good indicator that the reel needs some maintenance. Now the method that I use, I've developed over the last couple of years through trial and error, and I call it the zip tie and weight method. Now this method counterbalances the flex that the machine causes on the reel to better calibrate your reel to bed knife tolerance levels. But before I show you guys the process of how I do it, I just want to briefly talk about some of these reel issues. No pun intended. Let me show you guys. Okay guys, welcome to the garage. Yes, I know it's messy, but I'm going to talk about how there's two major factors that cause the bed knife tolerance to change when the reel is inside the machine. The first one is going to be the belt tension. So as the belt comes down over the drive gear, it exerts a little bit of downward force on that gear, and it causes the reel to have a slight microflex. So it changes the tolerance in the bed knife to reel. The second factor that causes the flex is how the reel is actually suspended in the chassis. And I'm going to demonstrate how both of these will change your bed knife to reel tolerances. So you'll see most people on YouTube backlapping their reel in this position. And the problem with this is that the weight of the reel isn't on the bed knife. So the bed knife contact actually changes depending on where the reel is positioned. And I'm going to demonstrate this right now to you. So pay attention to the sound the reel makes when I spin it in this position versus in this position. So you can see that there's significantly more contact on the bed knife when the reel is in the position as if it was inside the machine. And as it gets tipped back, the weight of the reel kind of comes off the bed knife and it makes it a little bit easier to spin. So for this reason, that's why I recommend backlapping the reel when it's inside the machine. This sound change that you hear just confirms that when the reel is suspended, it changes the bed knife contact. Now, I actually recommend backlapping at the height of cut that you normally keep your lawn, because as you go lower on your height of cut, the reel starts to change this position inside the mower and is going to change how much stress is being put on the bed knife. So if you normally cut at, let's say, 20 millimeters and your bed knife and your reel is in this position, then the amount of force and flex on the bed knife is going to be like this. Or if you cut 10 millimeters and your blade is set like this in the mower, it's going to change the amount of force that's exerting on this bed knife. So this is kind of a self-calibration method that I've discovered over the years. Okay guys, so the second factor that causes the microflex in the reel is when you put down the tension belt over this drive gear. So I have a fresh piece of paper right here. And I'm going to get a nice clean paper cut. 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to take the tension pulley off. And now I'm going to do the same test, and you'll see how now the contact has changed and it's no longer cutting paper. So that means that when this tension pulley is on, that confirms that there's a downward force being put on this pulley, therefore changing the reel to bed knife tolerance. So the whole reason why I'm doing backlapping today is because I'm getting a pretty good cut on the edges here, but it's just tugging just a little bit here in the middle. And that's kind of the crappy thing about these reels, is that you can only adjust the outsides here. So if you have any tugging here in the middle, you're kind of at the mercy of backlapping or getting a relief grind or getting your reel grind. All right guys, so here's what you're going to need to do this method. You're going to need the typical backlapping setup, except you're going to need some zip ties, a 2.5 pound plate, and a bungee cord. Okay guys, so for this method to actually work, you have to get the mower off the ground and suspend it. This thing I've built is just something that I picked off the side of the road. It was actually an old TV stand that I modified to not only fit my table saw, but also to fit the Stirling. So you're gonna have to pick it up. Up, lightweight, baby. Nothing but a peanut. Drop it in there. Now I made that little groove there just for the front roller to sit in, but this is what you have to do in order to do this method here. So first thing you're gonna wanna do is obviously remove the plastic cover. Okay, so second step is to take the tension pulley off, grab the slack in the drive belt, and zip tie it together. So the purpose of this is just to keep the drive belt from grabbing hold of this cog as we spin it backwards to backlap. So I contacted Allett and I asked them if I could have the tension belt on and spin this backwards, and they advised me not to do that as it could generate a current and send it back through the electrical system and potentially damage it. So to mimic this downward force that the drive belt puts on the gear, this is where your 2.5 pound plate and your bungee cord come in handy. So yes, I know this looks insane, but what you're gonna do is take your 2.5 pound plate, you're gonna loop the bungee cord through the hole and around your socket. Then you're gonna put it on the drive gear, and then you're gonna spin it backwards. And what this is going to do is it's going to mimic that downward force that's exerted on this gear. So then when you backlap, it's calibrating itself to the forces that the mower exerts onto the reel. So I got my 120 grit backlapping compound. Just gonna give it a little shake before we get going here. So off camera, I backed off the height adjustment by 2 notches from where I was getting that clean paper test. I got the weight on the drill. I'm gonna put that on here. And this is where I'm gonna start backlapping from. So I backlapped for a little bit. Now I'm gonna tighten it up 1 notch. 1 and 1. So now I'm going to tighten it up 1 more notch, and this is going to bring us back to the starting point where I was getting a clean paper test. And the whole reason why I back it off by 2 and work my way back up is because I want to give the reel a chance to sharpen when it's not as tight to the bed knife. So I'm not unnecessarily wearing down the reel or the bed knife. So now we're at the starting position where it was cutting paper, and I'm gonna backlap this for about 30 seconds. Okay, so now that I'm done, now I'm gonna back the reel adjustment off 2 notches again. This is just gonna help give a little bit of clearance, so when I'm washing it off, it's not so tight. So I'm gonna go backwards, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now I'm gonna take it out and we'll give it a clean off. So now that I got the reel outside of the machine, I'm gonna take this opportunity to clean it off really well. I got a cup here with a little bit of Dawn dish soap and a scrubby brush. I'm gonna remove all these grass crusties, and I know there's gonna be someone in the comments that are gonna say, bro, you shouldn't be backlapping a reel that doesn't have a relief grind. And yes, I understand that. I don't have anybody locally or readily available that I can bring this reel to get a relief grind or a spin grind on. So this is the best option that I have at my location. Now, this may be not the best practice, but this is just what I have on hand to fix the problem in the interim until I can get it into the shop. So once you're satisfied with how clean the reel is, you're going to want to blow this thing off really well and remove as much water as you can. So I actually prefer to use a leaf blower And I just put my foot just gently on this cog just to prevent it from spinning so fast. We're back in the garage. I got the reel all dried off, and I like to go over the whole reel with this WD-40 silicone spray. I usually just use a little dollar store brush, and I wipe the whole reel with it. Now this next step is pretty critical, and I would highly recommend doing this. There's 2 bearings on each reel, one on each side, and they have this plastic housing. And you're gonna wanna try to get some WD-40 inside that housing, because as we wash the reel, there's gonna be water that gets inside this bearing and it can start to rust. Now, if your reel is really hard to spin, it could be that this bearing is starting to go. I actually had to replace this bearing last year, so that's how I know this. So I definitely recommend trying to spray this WD-40 into that plastic housing. A way that I like to do this is I like to tip the reel up, and I like to spray it as I spin and let it soak down on this side. And then I also try to get it on both sides. So I spray a little bit, try to let it soak into that little gap, spin it, spray, spin it, rinse and repeat. Okay, so I cut the zip tie, I got the cover back on, I put the reel back inside the machine, I tightened it back to its starting position. Now, if you remember before, it wasn't cutting paper in the middle very well. And after the backlapping, it is cutting super good on all sides. All right, so now that we have a clean paper test across the entire reel, I'm going to turn the machine on and listen to how quiet this sounds. So there's almost no reel contact, there's no knocking sounds. You hear a lot of mowers online that are like really loud, they're grinding in order to get that clean paper test. This is why I believe backlapping and doing everything inside the machine using that zip tie and weight method will help to calibrate the reel to how the machine flexes on it. Now, this isn't me like bashing Allett. Like, I actually do really like this mower. I do think it is quality built. These are just some things that I think can be improved for future products and to make it more user-friendly for like homeowners. So that's it for this one, guys. I really hope you found this video informative. And yeah, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.